Hello and welcome to our last session of the Narrative Therapy Tree of Life project from the Dulwich Center Foundation. We're just utilizing this tool to again look at all our resources and strengths that we have within us to address any stresses and concerns that are going on in each of our worlds. And so you guys have done an amazing work of already looking at your roots, the ground, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, the fruit. You've looked at all these different gifts and resources that are within you. And in this last session, we're going to address some of the potential storms that have come in the past, that could come again in the future, or that are present right now in your world. So we're going to talk about this preparing for the storms. But before we do that, let's begin with just teaching you a quick relaxation technique. Again, the more we practice these when we're calm and just steady, the easier it'll be to bring them in when we're stressed or triggered. So this is one that if you can do it laying down, it's even better, or sitting. But have you heard of progressive muscle relaxation? All you really do is you kind of can start from your toes up or your head down, and you basically tighten and release each part of your body, and you focus and you tighten and then you release it. Then you move to the next, tighten, focus, and then release. So you kind of start, you can even do it with your face. Just tighten as tight as you can, hold it, feel every muscle, and then take a deep breath and release. And then you move to the shoulders. Tighten, feel it, feel every muscle, maybe what's there. Take a deep breath and release. And basically all this is doing is just making your body aware of like whatever tensions and stresses you may feel. And then when you take a deep breath and then let it go and release, it can just help if there's anything kind of stuck or tight, just taking that moment to tighten and then let it go. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm stressed, I tighten in certain places, but especially in my jaw, I tend to clench. And I have to actually remember and like wiggle my face and do different things to kind of help release some of that tension. So all progressive muscle relaxation does is just bring awareness to your body and how your body can store tension, and then just remembering to let it go. And so sometimes during the day, I have to remember to just be silly with my kids, make funny faces, and what I'm actually trying to do is release some of the tension that I'm storing in my face. But I kind of use my kids as an excuse to practice it. So whatever you need to do to help practice it, I encourage you to do so. So try it, see if it works for you. Remember, anything gets better with practice. So if it's not working right away, try again. And if it's not working, then move on to another technique that might work better for you. All right, so today we're going to be talking about preparing for storms, preparing for crisis, preparing for things that can happen or are happening. And it's really important to know that to reach out when you're not able to handle it yourself. Remember that you aren't alone, that there is a Métis crisis line that you can call, that there is resources within your community, within your provincial health, your interior health plan. And so even as you're thinking about specific to you, it's good to know the general resources that are actually around you. And we're hoping to provide you with connections to those resources as well. So one thing that I do personally is I actually have in my wallet at all times, I have a Smithers Community Directory, and basically it says, do you need help? And it has everything on here from emergency, fire, ambulance, the hospital, poison control, and then it has everything from BC Schizophrenia Society, the phone number, Brain Injury Association, Child Development Center, hospice, child and youth mental health. And so having something like this, and I picked this up at the health unit in town, and I've used it personally, and so it's such a great resource to have, especially because I'm newer to the community and I don't know everything. So it's double-sided, has so many different phone numbers and resources, and I find people are generally pretty helpful. So I've called Northern Society for Domestic Peace, and then they've referred me to another area. If they're not able to help me, they usually help me find what I do need. So having something like this, seeing if your health unit has something like this, is really good just to carry and have on you. Also, I carry on me are these Métis Women's Inspiration Cards. And so when I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed and I can't focus and I get stuck in that negative bubble in my head, I pull out one of these inspiration cards. And one that I actually read this morning, I'll read to you. It says it's a woman's affirmation. And so it says, I am a strong and proud Métis person and Métis woman. My pride makes me strong for my family and my people. My grandmothers have taught me these ways. You are Métis, don't ever forget it, and be proud of who you are. This is words spoken to Angie Career by her father. And so what a gift for her to share this with the Métis women, and for the Métis women to put it on a card. So thank you for doing that, because it has helped me. It's helped me today to remember that I am proud, and that pride is a very positive influence on not just me, but on my family. And it's also been a gift from my grandmothers. So thank you for sharing those gifts, and that I get to use them and then you get to use them. So thank you for that. And so what these things are called is that they're protective measures. They're resources that we have for when storms hit, we have something tactile, tangible to have that we can reach out and grab. And so those are just two things that I carry with me. But basically, when you think about your own personal storms that could potentially threaten your tree, a very real storm that has come in the last few weeks that we can no longer deny is COVID and the impacts of COVID on economy, on our personal life, on our mental health. So there is resources on like Canadian Association of Mental Health. There's resources on like COVID's impact on isolation. And so on that website, there's some tips on dealing with isolation, on dealing with if you do get COVID. Here are some steps. If a loved one gets COVID, what can you do? And so it's a great resource that we have just to kind of read through some of the tips and techniques that are specific to that happening right now. Also, like things on racism, which is very real within our world and our community. So there's some resources on like, you know, how do we deal with it if something comes up, if words are spoken or acts are committed, how, like, what are the resources in our community to deal with that. So those are kind of the storms. Lateral violence happens everywhere nowadays, but there's actually resources on the Métis Women's the MNBC's website under Métis Women. There is some resources on dealing with lateral violence. So just, I want you to encourage that there are tactile things that we can read and protect and join together, that we are not alone in these storms. They may hit us in a very specific personal way, but just remember that we aren't alone. And so basically, like, how are we going to manage these storms? What are the resources within our communities, within, not just within ourselves, but what are some other resources outside of our tree that we can utilize? And so it's looking at what might the storms be and how do we prepare. And one way I do this with clients is I actually get them to kind of do a map, and I draw it on a page, and I say, okay, so here's the potential storms, and we kind of draw little clouds. And then we talk about, okay, so what will we do when this happens? How will we handle, like, when school goes back in session and you have really bad anxiety? So what are the techniques? What are the skills? What are the ways you'll cope? And so we come up with lists and resources and people and things, so that when it does happen, and it often does, because life is imperfect and we all know we can't avoid storms. So basically, it's just having a plan, being prepared, and recognizing that, you know, we do have resources, and we just forget it when we're stressed. And so if we have it written down, if we have a plan, we're more likely to reach out and utilize those resources. So just want to encourage you that they are there. If you're getting stuck, reach out, have somebody else help you find some of those resources. Personally, I love networking. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so I often call different organizations and I say, can you help me? Can you help me find this? And people are generally pretty helpful. If they're not, then move on to the next. But I just encourage you that there are things out there that you can utilize within your community. So remember, try not to focus on the storms or get stuck in watching for them. It's just more, if you do find yourself getting stuck, just remind yourself that you do have a plan. And when the storm does come, you have resources and you have strengths within here to help you. And so I hope this has been helpful. The whole point of it is to look at your own narrative, and that it's a developing narrative, that it's not over, it's not finished. You're still in process, you're still growing. There's still pruning that needs to happen within even each one of our trees. But the point is just to look and to share with others different techniques, tips, resources, things you've learned. And so we hope that when we do the breakout sessions within your region or health region, that you can share some of those and maybe offer to someone else something you've learned, and then vice versa, someone else can offer you something that they've learned, and just share together that collectively we have so much strength and so much to share. And what a gift we can be to each other. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've learned something and that you do realize you have a lot to offer. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the upcoming call. Okay, take care.